Hello guys, this session will focus on macroeconomics. That's what I want to look into today. And before I go into talking about macroeconomics, it's important I just do a bit of revision on what is economics. Let me just remind you quickly. We've looked at microeconomics, which is about economy of individuals and companies, small scale. Now I want to look at macroeconomics. But remember, what's economics? Just a reminder. Remember, economics is about how we produce goods or services, distribute them to consumer, and how they are being consumed by the consumer. So how we produce, how we distribute, and how we consume. That's what we talk about economics. But when we now say macroeconomics, so you see, this is the second part of the word macro. Macro is the bigger part of the economics. So, and what are we talking about here? We're talking about basically country economy. Country is bigger than individual, remember, and country is bigger than the company, because you have both individuals and companies residing in a country. But we're talking about the global economy when you're talking of many countries, right? So that is what we're looking at in this recording. So generally, looking at macroeconomics in the context of Big T, we're talking about what is going on outside the organization and how it affects the organization. So that's what we're looking at on macroeconomics, right? So that's just a bit of introduction. Now let's look at the economic cycle. This is extremely important because this is highly examinable. We must understand economic cycle. And what is economic cycle? Economic cycle is just the fluctuation. So think about the fluctuation of what? Fluctuation of economic activities. On a long time. So not just on few months, not in 1 year, but many years. That is economic cycle. And I'm sure you should be asking, when you're talking of economic activities, what are the economic activities that we're talking about? We're talking about growth of the economy. And there's no economy that can grow without inflation. So which means inflation will be very important to talk about there. We're talking about income as another activity of economy. People making money, salaries and all of that. We're talking about the customer's demand. How do customers request to buy goods? And how do people get job, employment? So these are economic activities. And these are the things we'll be using to discuss economic cycle. Because remember we said it's about fluctuation. So which means it's not stable, it goes up and down. And when things are moving like that and fluctuating, it means they are changing. And because they are changing, it means there will be different stages. And that is why we'll be talking about 4 stages of economic cycle. Because every economic cycle can be divided into those 4 stages. And I will just quickly go through that now. So usually, let me just draw this. I'll use this graph to explain. Usually like that, And you can see here, this is talking about the growth of economy. And this is about time. So from here, we can see things are coming down. Because it's coming down, that part is called recession. I will explain what happens at each point of the economy, right? This point where economy is down, and it's down for a long time. You can see it's down for a protracted time, is called a depression. Let me use a different color for that. Because you're having a recession over a long time, staying on one spot, not growing, on just on the bottom. Then when it starts to pick up, it's picking up here, that is called the recovery. That is called the recovery. And here on top is the boom, which is the peak of the economy, where the economy is doing so well. So these are the 4 stages of economic cycle, and you must know what is the trend. How do all these economic activities, how do they differ at different stages? And what you will see is at recession. So let's quickly look at it. So we have 4 stages: recession, we have depression, we have recovery, and we have the boom. So if we just quickly look at those economic activities quickly, it's very important to know. So the economic activities, because we said it's a fluctuation of economic activities, which means all these activities don't remain as you expect them to be. So let's list some of those activities. So if we talk about income, recession, it will start to reduce. Very low here because there's a depression. It starts to increase here, and it is very high here. We can talk about customers' demand. Talk about demand. Demand starts to reduce as well because people are losing their jobs, and that is why I can even quickly put the employment here as well. So unemployment will increase here. People are losing their job. Likewise, you have unemployment. Unemployment is very high at depression. Customer demand will also reduce. Depression, is very low. Demand is very low. Start to increase, and it's very high here. Here unemployment is very high. Depression, but when it starts to recovery, unemployment will start to reduce, and there will be high employment here. So unemployment will be super low at boom. Very important to note that is also to know what happens to inflation. When there is recession, you expect inflation to be low. It's going to be low here, then start to increase, and maybe high here. So this is very important to note. This is a good summary for you on the key economic activities and how they vary across different stages of the economic cycle. It's a good summary. I think this is quite helpful for you. All right.